And I'd like to thank the organisers for providing the foreplay in the form of this lovely lunch that we've all been eating. Yes. Because foreplay is so important to sex, even if we're just talking about it. It's so important that you feel relaxed, that you're feeling a sense of, I'm looking forward to more. Are we all feeling relaxed? Yes! Yeah. Are we feeling a little lubricated? It's okay still. Perhaps you're feeling just a touch anxious. Yes. What am I in for? Oh my God, what are you going to talk about? And a little bit of anxiety is not a bad thing as we lead into sex. And it's not too much. But you're safe with me, you can trust me, I'm a therapist. Yes, during the week I work with individuals around their sexual and relationship issues, and then on the weekends I run workshops. And every so often I get invited to do talks like this, which is wonderful. So yes, you are safe with me. But enough about me, because this is all about you. Right? Since we're all women here together, I thought we'd do a little bit of secret women's business. Okay? We'll leave the men out of it. I mean, I wish I could talk to all your lovely partners, and we really should have given them a bit of secret men's business last night, but never mind, we've got you here today, so take notes and make sure that you let him know what you've learned, right? But I do actually believe that it's important for women to lead the men in so many areas of life, but most importantly sexually. You have to let them know what is important to you, okay? Because we're all a little bit confused about sex in this society. For a start, we never talk to anyone about it. So nobody actually knows what anyone else is doing. I mean, do you feel like having a conversation with the person next to you about exactly what you touch you sexually? Probably not. Not too many people know. I know. I've spoken to thousands of people in intricate detail about their sex life. I actually know what's going on with it. So, let me cast a little bit of light on this difficult subject for all of you. And my hope is that as you become more informed, you'll feel more empowered, and you'll feel the lusciousness of your feminine sexuality, and you'll use this very powerful force to give you energy and to inspire you and to make you everything you can possibly be. Because the wonderful thing about being a woman is that our sexuality is far more awesome than the limited sexuality of the gentleman. Sorry guys, if there's any no men here, good, I can be completely honest. No, seriously. If you look at our bodies, if you look at everything about us, women just leave men for dead when it comes to sexuality. But unfortunately that's not been the understanding for approximately 3,000 years or so. So, let me explain some of this. Now I'd like to talk about femininity, right? And how you can have this empowered femininity. Not the old style femininity. And it's very confusing. All women are like, oh, what does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be feminine? What's this sex thing all about? So let me talk about yin and yang, if I may use that. Are you aware of that concept of yin and yang? So you have a circle. And that's why I always give me this kind of microphone. I know I'm a sex expert, all these things I'm going to do. Not that kind of sex talk, ladies. You need to come along to my workshops if you want more specific information like that. But, I want to use my hands more. So if we talk about yin and yang, so it's a circle and it's got a wavy line in the middle and it's dark on one side and light on the other side. And it symbolises the complementarity of opposites. Okay? So, on one side you've got your yang, and the yang is, the dark, the hard, the forceful, the masculine, all those sorts of things. And on the other side you've got the yin, which is the soft, the nurturing, the white, the feminine. Alright? But they are complementary. And this is very important because we have masculine, we have feminine. They are complementary. It's not about the battle of the sexes, no, it's the complementarity of the sexes. You need to work.
Oh, he's lost sound.
And our man is gone, which is good, so come back. Do I even need it?
No.
Good. Oh, really? Okay, so now I can use my hands. So free. Okay, I'm free to be me. Alright, so where was I up to? Yin and yang, yes. Okay, so yin and yang. Right, now, a well-rounded person has got equal amounts of the yin and the yang within them. Alright? So it's not that women are supposed to be all yin and men are supposed to be all yang. No. We've got the yin and the yang. So, but the yin and the yang manifests in complementary opposite ways. There's that word again, complementary opposites. 2 words actually. So let's start with men. We are talking a little bit about men, because they are lovely creatures. They're also useful. It was such a wonderful pleasure. Oh. Anyway, so we think about men. So men have the yang on the outside, right? Okay, so they've kind of got that toughness on the outside. And they go through life purposefully and they do things and they achieve things, and that's all really nice. And we look at our man doing things and achieving things and like, oh, look at him, he's a lovely man. Yeah? But if he's a well-rounded man, he will be able to open up his yang external side and share with you his internal yin, his softness, his tenderness, his love, and all that sort of thing. Right? And you go, oh, he loves me. You know, if you think about the knights of old, they're a wonderful example of a well-rounded man. You know, they gallop off in their chargers and they'd fight dragons and do all that manly stuff, you know. And then he'd come back and he would kneel in front of his true love and he'd sing a poetry and he'd, you know, things like that. Okay? So, you know, that's a really nice example. And for a man to be able to do that is really important. Okay? But men aren't actually brought up to be able to do this very well. Right? The old patriarchal model was men were like this. I'm the man of, oh, no, that's a bit scary. Oh, no, I'm not showing any of that. Oh, no, I'm a man. Right? And a lot of men have been hurt. Right? Or they don't know how to express themselves, so they don't know how to do this. Or they think they've got to do this. And that's really unscary, you know. Okay? So they've got to learn to do this. And you, as his woman, may well have to help him to do this and encourage him. Because if a woman's too scary, and a lot of women become very scary, then, well, he's not going to do it, okay? Now, what some men also do, if they've been a bit shamed by their sexuality, or they've got a really harsh partner, or something has happened to them, they'll put this false yin around themselves. And they'll be that kind of guy that wears his heart on his sleeve, you know, he does all that, and it's like not very sexy, yeah? And sometimes I deal with guys who they become fathers or something, they think they've got to be like that, so they give up going to their taekwondo classes and they give up going out for drinks with their mate. And the wife's like, you got to stay home and look after the kids. You know, they're just having sex. Can't imagine why. Alright? So we've got to drop this false yin. He needs to be strong in his masculine and be able to open up and share his beautiful tenderness. Right? Now, for women, that's us ladies. It's the complementary opposite. Okay? For us, we want to have the yang on the inside, right? So we want to have this really strong, powerful, gorgeous, luscious centre, right? And then we have the yin on the outside, all right? So we are very powerful, but that emanates out through softness. Okay? Now that's kind of scary. That's a bit scary to have the yin on the outside. And in the old model of patriarchy, where the men were all like this and the women were all like this, all yin and pathetic. Yeah? Right, we don't want to go back there. And it's interesting, and I'll come to that in a moment. So ideally as a woman, I really want you to hold this, is how can you have this inner strength, this power, right? And you have to have your sexuality as part of that, because this is where our sexuality is. It feeds our strength. Okay? And then if you can allow the softness on the outside, right? Now I believe that that is the essence of a truly powerful feminine woman, right? And men respond really well to that because everything they get is soft. They get received with softness. And men are like tender little creatures. They're not going to do this if they're confronted with harshness. But if they're confronted with softness, especially powerful softness, oh, okay. Right? But what too many women do in our society is, just as some men surround themselves with false yin, they surround themselves with false yang. Right? And I see this all the time, where you've got this harshness around you, your barriers are up. It's not surprising, we have to function in a very masculine society. And, you know, so many women have been hurt, and so many women have been hurt sexually, or have been subjected to ongoing poor quality sex, you can't help but put your barriers up. It's a protective thing, okay? Now the only way you're going to be able to drop those barriers, right, and allow your true beauty to shine out, because if you've got this false stuff around you, alright, it's pretense, it's false, alright, and you're not allowing your beautiful yin to show, that lovely feminine softness, but at the same time you're not actually allowing your true yang, your true strength to flow out, and it gets really exhausting pretending to be strong and tough all the time, okay? So what we need to do is see how you can actually let that go, right? And you use your sexuality to do that, and then it flows, and everything is all very wonderful. So and we move away from what we've had for, look, approximately 3,000 years, where we've had patriarchy. And, you know, as I said, the men were all like this, and the women were all like pathetic and dependent and had no power. And, you know, we had this whole Madonna whore thing, where, you know, bad girls put out, good girls don't, and, you know, excuse the language, but you fuck the whore, but you never do anything like that to your beautiful, chaste wife, right? That only changed a few decades ago. That only changed in the 60s and 70s. A lot of us were born and were living in those years, okay? And back in those bad old days, women weren't allowed to be sexual. We weren't brought up to be sexual. For countless generations, girls were brought up to think that they weren't sexual, that they shouldn't be sexual. And if by some mischance they were sexual, well, we had lots of remedies for that. We could burn them at the stake. We did that to about 1 million women who were burned as witches. They were just sexual. We could stone them to death. You know, they still do that in some countries. Or we could do something that's actually even more effective, is just to make sure that they, you know, they don't actually think they're sexual. All right? And probably, you know, the little girl's earliest experiences of her sexuality. How many of you have got daughters? You know, you remember when you first saw your daughter like doing this? I remember my daughter, I don't know how old she was, she's probably about 18 months or something, maybe less, in front of the telly doing this. And I remember thinking, oh dear, I'm a professional, I should be able to deal with this. You know, it's like, okay, darling, don't. All right, you know, private. But for most girls, it would have been, don't do that, that's disgusting. Right? A little girl's very, very first introduction to her sexuality is, don't, that's disgusting. Right? Probably the majority of us here, that would have been our first introduction. Might not have been quite that harsh, but it's definitely went in. That's disgusting. Right? Anyway, so for all of those generations, and of course I'm generalising hugely, the girls grew up thinking they weren't sexual, shouldn't be sexual, probably had a bit of a chat on the wedding night about men having their needs. Yeah, it's okay, you can think of England, plan the shopping list, don't worry about it. Anyway, so what were the boys doing all this time? Bless them, it wasn't their fault. Now those of us who have boy children know that at approximately, I don't know, my son's case is about 3 months, I think, they discover their penis. Right? And they don't. And you're not going, that's naughty, or what do you do? You're getting out the phone and camera. Oh, that's it's really cute when your sons play with their genitals, but it's a bit like, oh, what do we do when the daughters do? Anyway, so, you know, boys have always discovered their penises because they're very obvious, and they like playing with them, and when they get to puberty, they discover that if they play with them, oh my God, there's a really nice ending. But we've got to do it really quickly so mine doesn't see us. Okay? So in the bad old days, you know, little boy meets girl, they get married, she has no expectations except that men have their needs. And the boy, knowing nothing else, he just keeps doing what he's always doing, which is basically masturbate inside her. Alright? So come the 1960s and 70s, when the West went, yay, sex is good, we should all like sex, women should like sex, yay! Well, the only model we had of sex was that one. I call it the adolescent male masturbatory model of sex. Alright? It's all based on teenage boys masturbating. Alright? And there's 3 parts to that. The first part is you've got to be horny, preferably going for it. Yeah? And then you want to have a lot of jiggity jig. There's got to be a lot of genital stimulation. Yeah? And then you finish with an orgasm. Done. That much I'm lying there going, well, what's next? Okay? Now, that's not even a very, you know, satisfactory style of lovemaking for men, let alone for women. Right? But that's all we knew. So, you know, suddenly women went from not supposed to be wanting sex at all to the biggest sexual dysfunction women have is lack of libido. You know, and it was like, where's my libido? I'm sure I said that. You know, so it's like this thing that you're supposed to have. Okay, now women are like that. Okay? Most men aren't actually like that too. Let me assure you, women, I just want to clarify this because a lot of women don't realise it. Every time I talk to a man, I don't know how many hundreds of men I've talked to, in intricate detail about their sex lives. And I always say to them, what is it that you love most about sex? Can you guess what they say? All of them. Even though they're complete dickheads, I eventually get it out of them. Right? Do you know what it is they love most about sex? Pleasuring their partner. Pleasuring their partner, the more pleasure you have, the more pleasure he has. Right? Now, we had it wrong for all those years because we didn't think about the women. And the boys didn't know any different, so they thought sex was just about having an orgasm. And so many people still think that that's what men want. Right? They just want to get their dick wet. And have an orgasm. Right? I get couples will sit on my couch and the guys go, yeah, I really want you to have pleasure. Nah, you don't. No, I really do. Nah, you don't. Like, look what I have to put up with. Right? So, men actually want you to have pleasure. Because if you have to rely on the sexual satisfaction for the couple based on his penis, as wonderful as a penis is, do not get me wrong, I love penises, especially on carpets. But if you rely on the penis, sex is never going to be fully satisfying because they don't last very long. Right? Okay, so if we want to look at... Oh my God, there's a man in the room. I won't mention... I'm sure your penis is lovely too. Like how our sexuality is different. And again, it is different. It is different, and it's complementary. So you can think of male sexuality as being like fire, right? Comes on quickly, burns brightly, and then it goes. Okay? Kind of like they have an on-off switch. And once they kind of have the urge, you know, they get this rush of testosterone, and they're ready to go. On the whole, okay? And I see lots of guys who've got low desire. In fact, about half the couples I see, it's actually the guy's got the lower desire than the woman, right? So no doubt there are a lot of you sitting out there who have got higher desire than your partner. Okay? It's not the guys wanting her all the time and the women holding out on her. But once you can get the guy kind of back in tune, for whatever reason he's kind of lost interest, and often it is just stress and they're tired, okay? Men get tired too. You know, he's kind of okay to go. He doesn't need much. In fact, often for men, they get the arousal before the desire hits. Right? It's kind of like, oh, yeah, right, where's the wife? Kind of, yeah, sort of thing, right? Look, women, we're not like that. In fact, with men, let me put it this way too, like often with men, they sort of, for them, sexuality goes bottom up. Right? So often, as I said, they get the arousal first. And then from there, then the heart will open a little bit. Like, oh yes, I could make beautiful love with my wife. Yay. Now what do I have to do? Light some candles, I buy those diamonds. You know, like it's kind of sexual centre, heart centre, head centre. Okay. Now for women it's the opposite. Our sexuality is much more like water. Okay? It's slower to heat up. Slower to heat up, undoubtedly. But once it gets hot, once it boils, it stays hot. It can boil and boil and boil and boil. It can keep going. Alright? So, if we divide sex into the desire side and the response side, yes, generally men have got a bit more oomph in the desire side. Okay? Because they do. They get the rush of testosterone. We don't. Okay? We don't have a lot of testosterone. But if we look at the response side, well, women cream it all over men. Right? And I know which side I'd rather be in, the response side. Yeah? So looking at our bodies, you know, biologically, as I said, men tend to get the rush of testosterone. Everything snaps into place. No, not for us. Ours is like the slow unfold. It's very complex. Our sexuality is a lot more complex than men's. In fact, women are much more complex than men. You know, physiologically, emotionally, everything, we're way more complex, which is why it can be so much better. Right? It can because of that complexity. But men are simple creatures. I mean that. I don't mean that in a loving way. And so penis. But they are much simpler. Like their sexuality is much simpler. Everything about them is much simpler. Which is why they get so bloody confused about us. Right? And why it's really, really never works for a woman to think that her man should just get it. Yeah, what's wrong with him? Why doesn't he understand? Well, because he's a man. Yeah? Men are not mind readers. In So women aren't mind readers either. It's the biggest number one, biggest mistake that couples make. And I'm having to deal with this all the time, every day. You're not mind readers. Speak. Okay? Speak. That's why we have mouths. Which, okay, brings me to the next point. Because you see, because female sexuality is like fire, it's very contextual. It depends on what's going on around us. It depends on how we feel. It depends on how we're getting on with our partner. Okay. Women who have a high sex drive, or should I say women who are open to making lots of beautiful love, are ones who keep their water energy simmering. Right? Okay, so hold that image in your mind. Because if you're trying to have sex and you're cold, it's not going to be good, right? And a lot of women are trying to have sex too cold, or even frozen. I see something who unfortunately a tundra. And, you know, you're not going to have anybody like, oh God, I suppose so, yeah, as long as you make it quick. You know, it's the number one thing men hate hearing. Just be quick. Well, are you done yet? Hate that. Right? I've never met a man who wanted obligation sex. Alright? There's another famous supposed sex expert out there who keeps telling women, just do it, only takes 10 minutes. Yeah? You know, I'm on the side of the men. I'm like, no, you're not, because men don't want obligation sex. Remember what I said a minute ago? What do men want? They want your pleasure. Which is why a lot of men stop having sex. Because they're like, well, if she's not into it, I want to be into it. I'd rather just do it myself. So it's complicated. You know, if all it is about having an orgasm, I might as well just do it myself. Right? They actually want to make love with you. I actually believe that men are more emotional when it comes to sex than women are. And that men's need and their crave for sexual interaction is not just because they want an orgasm, because seriously, that's so much easier. They need to connect with you, and that's how they connect. And most men will say, if they're making good quality, regular love with their partners, they just feel like they could conquer the world. Yeah? They just feel fantastic. So, it's absolutely important that you figure out what keeps you on the simmer. Right? And this will be different for each of you. But think about what makes you go, because it's the things that make you go, that will keep your water simmering. Now, some of those things are things that you can do yourself. Like if you've got your nice lingerie on today, you might be going, I know I've got nice lingerie. No one else knows mine. Yeah? And that'll up the temperature just a little bit. Yeah? But it's not just about external things like what you wear, it's also about looking after yourself. Getting enough sleep, taking time. Yes, I am going to do that yoga class. I don't care whether he's good at looking after the kids in the evening or not. I'm doing this for me. Taking time out. All these sorts of things. All these sorts of things that make you feel good as a woman and as an individual. All these things that make you go, yeah? And they get that water going up. Right? So, that's key. But also key is how you're relating with your partner. Alright? So if he buys you those diamond earrings, you go, you go, 10 degrees, yeah. But often it's little things, right? My parents, who just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, told me very early on, that the secret to their good quality, long-lasting marriage was that every morning my father brings my mother a cup of tea and toast in bed. Right? Because the women on my side of the family are not good in the morning. I'm inherited it too, I'm hopeless. But bring me, my partner does as much as he can. He's in the building industry, so he can't do it all the time. Cup of tea and toast in the morning, doesn't take much, sets up the whole day. You bring me a cup of tea and toast in the morning, much bigger chance of nookie in the evening. Right? I'm not guaranteeing it. Okay? But it's like little things like that. Okay? You really need to know what those little things are. And think of it like you're giving each other little quantums of yumminess. Yeah? Nice little energy. So if he brings you tea and toast in the morning, it's like, oh. Yeah? And of course you do things back to him. And he goes, oh. Okay? Because particularly in a long-term relationship, you need to do this. You cannot get complacent. Right? The reason why sex is generally so good early on in a relationship, it's not just because there's different hormones floating around, it's a little bit. It's more because you're doing everything right. Yeah? But there's anticipation, you're doing interesting things. You know, when you see each other, you look really good. You know, you've prepared, you're doing interesting things. All of that is really good to get all the positive hormones flowing and to get a woman ready so that after your date, of course you want to have sex. Yeah. You couldn't wait. You didn't close before you even got in and do it in the car. Yeah. Wherever. Remember? Hopefully you remember those days. Right? But you get married and you know, yeah? You want to do what? Oh, God. All right, I suppose. Yeah, but no, I'm not doing that. So, you've got to keep maintaining these things, right? Because right at the beginning there were lots of things that were making you go, Alright? So, what are the things that go, Because it's the sum total of all those little things that's going to get you in the mood. And similarly, while you're thinking about things that make you go, you need to think about things that make you go, Right? They're the opposite. Okay? They're the things that lower the temperature. Okay? So if he doesn't buy you the earrings, even though he could have. Yeah? Yeah? He doesn't bring you breakfast in bed, even though he knows that you should. Or you pre-arrange. Yeah? Okay? So it's really important that you, as an individual woman, right, figure out what those things are. Because they'll be unique to you. I can't tell you what those things are. I mean, there's a few obvious things, maybe. But even if I like, tea and toast in bed, probably half of you'd go, oh no, I get crumbs. Yeah? Or something. No, actually, I'd rather get up and go to the yoga. Like, if I want him to do something for me in the morning, I'd rather he looked after the kids so I can go to yoga class. Yeah? I'm not doing yoga in the morning, I can assure you. I love my yoga. So, you need to know about these things. Okay? Alright. And this is what I call the foreplay. Right? This is all the stuff that you do before you even get to the bedroom. Right? That's why I call it the foreplay. That's kind of clever. You're allowed to sort of Alright. Then we get to the foreplay. Alright, so that's the sort of stuff that you do once you're in the bedroom. And as I was saying to the lovely ladies at my table just a little while ago, what I work with couples most on is actually the bit in between. It's the getting to sex, right? A lot of people, once they're having sex, they're kind of okay with it. I mean, sure, I can give you some, tips and tricks and a little bit more around that. But it's actually like the lead-up. It's that transition, right? That's what you really, really need to focus on. And that's where you really need to help you guys out as well. Right? Now, fortunately, humans have got big brains and we're very creative, right? But you need to tap into what is right for you. Okay? Now, with the foreplay thing, and as I said, the guys often get it wrong because they start here, right? So naturally they will assume that women start here as well. But most of us know that if you go barreling down to the clitoris, it's like, yeah, not ready. Okay, that's not an off switch. Okay, arousal starts at the top, and physically it starts at the top. Like if you're having a nice time and you're getting on well with him, maybe a kiss, right? And you will want a kiss because your mouth will open and move towards him. Right? And if you're doing this, it means that you're not ready for a kiss. Okay? So, he needs to know these signs. Right? When a woman's ready for a kiss, it'll be obvious. And when you have that kiss, right? And most women actually love to start with a kiss. One thing that often falls off in long-term relationships is kissing. Right? A little bit of homework for those of you where the kissing has dropped off. I want you to start having a 30-second kiss every day. Yeah? Yeah, I know. Horrific. Oh, good. Alright, play some nice music. You can do it lying in bed. Alright, so you're having the kiss, and the kiss is going well. So then, what comes next? Then do we go barreling on down to clitoris? No, we've got all of this in between. Right? So you're having the nice kiss, then you might want your shoulders stroked. And when you're ready, your breasts will come forward because you want to be caressed on the breasts. Do not miss the breasts. It's absolutely crucial that you stimulate your breasts. Okay? Or that he does. Nice caresses. A lot of women sort of stop that, particularly after you've had kids because they're a bit saggy and all that sort of stuff. No. In fact, a little bit of extra on the side, secret women's business. If you regularly massage your breasts, they will stay firmer. Yeah? So after you have a shower or something, get some nice body oil and give them a nice massage. Yes. Okay? Just round and round. Okay? I breastfed 3 children for a year each. And, you know, admittedly they're not very big. But, you know, I can get by without a bra. Okay? Lots of massages. My partner gave me lots of massages. Okay, but you want that because your breasts will be wanting it. Okay? You've got to tune into where your body is at. Right? And then after that for a while, well, yeah, you know, I'm thinking okay. Right? Maybe we can kind of head south. But you will know that because you will be feeling it. Your hips will start moving a little. Yeah? Yeah, right. Stuff down there. Yeah, okay. Right. By now you're actually getting quite aroused. If you've forgotten this feeling, right, or if you've just been going straight into it, slow down, get back to this again. Right. You will know when you're ready to proceed. And at around about this point, you might even be starting to feel like a little love drunk. Right? If you have no idea what I mean when I say love drunk, then you've never been fully aroused. Because when a woman is very aroused, she kind of goes a little bit spacey, has trouble speaking. Yes? But that's a good space to be in. Because then when you've got this lovely body in front of you, you're just going like, oh, yum, let's just play with this. This is all good. Right? Because you want to. Not because you think you should. Yeah? It's not like, oh, maybe if I give him a hand job he'll start. or even, well, he's been going down on me for about 10 minutes or so, so God, I don't think I'm going to come, but I better do this to him for 10 minutes. It's not like, you know, you do, I do. Yeah, it's not like that. You know, and too many people, especially young people, are into this kind of same. You go down on me for 2.3 minutes, I'll go down on you for 2.3 minutes. And then, yeah, you know, you'll be on top for a bit, we'll turn over and I'll be on top for a bit. No, right? You want your sexual expression to be a true expression of who you are, right? You don't want to be in your head thinking, oh, what should I do, right? Should I do this? Am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? Will he like this? Will he won't like this? Am I ever going to come? Whatever it is that's going through your head. Yeah, let go of that. And that's where that sort of spacey kind of, oh yeah, this is just really nice. And then if you want to play with his penis, you will. Yes? In whatever form takes your fancy. If you want to know some more technical stuff around that, come to one of my workshops. Okay? But I don't teach women like, this is what you do to a penis. Right? I mean, I can, and I do. But what is important is where it's coming from. Right? Because if you're in your head thinking, oh yeah, that was that trick Jacqueline taught me. Yeah. There's no connection. Right. Far better to you for you to be in a lovely space, you've got the music and the candles and you've had a nice evening and you've been chatting together and oh, you had a lovely kiss and then it's like, right, I'm going to play with your penis. Yeah? It's coming from a completely different place. Okay? Alright. And then, then we might be ready for a little bit of intercourse. Right? Now, a woman must never ever invite a man in until she's ready. And ladies, I would like you, please, to promise me that you will ban penetration. The word, that is, not the act. Alright? Because if you think of the word penetration, what happens in your body? Batten down the hatches, prepare for penetration. When you're done, you're ready. Okay. I've actually cured a lot of women who have had vaginismus, which is when their muscles tighten up. Penis can't get in. Simply by changing the word. Not penetration. Especially if you've had sexual trauma or something in the past. Yeah, I'm going to be penetrated. No, ladies, I would like you to think of invitation. Alright? When you are good and ready. Yes, I love the note takers over there. Okay? When you are good and ready, you will want him inside. Right? You will be yearning to be filled. Right? You just, and your legs will naturally part, and then you're like, in we come. Okay? And he, hopefully, well, you've got to tell him this too, right? It's not like, yeah, great, here we go. No. The way I encourage you to invite vagina, his penis. Yeah? So he's there, right? And he has to wait. He's got to feel it. He's got to feel the draw. He's going to go, ah, yes, she wants me. And he goes in slowly. And then when he's in, guess what? He is in heaven, right? When a man is inside his wife or his partner's vagina, he feels like he is home. Home. Heaven. Nothing better. Okay? Alright? So you might need to train him to slow down a bit, because a lot of people think that, sex is, especially if they watch a lot of porn, because, hey, it looks good. But what will feel better is if he comes in, and you might be looking him in the eye, and you might be embracing. It's like, yes, I feel it. Right? You'll feel it. You'll feel the fullness, you'll feel the connection, and that's where the magic starts happening. What you will be doing is you'll be waking up your vagina, and probably his penis too. Because we've had this approach to sex that once the penis is in the vagina, it's generally fairly vigorous, right? I actually believe that what we are doing is numbing. We're numbing our vaginas, we're numbing our genitals. And over time, you don't feel as much, right? So a lot of women sort of get to a certain point, they go, I just don't really feel anything in my vagina anymore. What's going on, right? Same as if you use vibrators too much, like you stop feeling. And I think we're actually numbing our nerves, because women have this amazing nerve structure in our genitals, and we're like snowflakes, right? We're all different. Okay, you know how snowflakes look different? Our nerve patterns are all different, and the nerves connect up through our spine to our brain, right? And if a woman is subjected to sexual trauma, it kind of cuts something off, and she becomes very flat, and loses her sense of joy in life, right? And often creativity goes. Now, what I believe, and I don't have scientific proof for this, but just from my own anecdotal experience, is that when women subject themselves to obligation sex, or sex they're not really into, or it's got started like, oh, I can't tell them to stop it or whatever, then what you're doing is just subjecting yourself to low-level sexual trauma. Okay? And over time, life kind of gets flat. You might get depressed, you lose your verve and all that sort of thing. I actually suspect that this is one of the reasons why so many women need to take antidepressants. In the old days it was Valium, and before that, there was lots of drugs. Okay? But if you're making love in a beautiful way, in a connected way, then what you do is you're actually you're flooding your body with lovely positive hormones, and you're sending really positive messages up to your brain. Yeah, messages of connection and love and safety and yumminess and maybe a bit of I like that, if that's your eroticism. Okay? And that's going to be different if you're just having a nice little bit of nookie on a Tuesday evening, as opposed to you've gone away to Paris for a week. You might have different quality sex there. Okay, now just like there's different kinds of food, there's different kinds of sex. Sometimes it's just, cheese on toast. But it can be beautiful artisan-baked sourdough with the finest Gruyere. All right, even if it's simple, it can still be really beautiful and really good. Okay, so once you start making love like that, and if you wanted to get intense, go for it, if that's your thing.